Hey, what's up guys, it's Kodi. In this video we're going to be going over my two-handed stamina Warden PvP build. This video is going to be a little bit longer than my other build videos because in this video I'm going to try to help newer Warden players grasp the idea of how to play Warden in PvP. So I'm basically going to be giving some tips, some pointers, some tricks on how to play the Warden to your full potential. So basically I'm just going to be going over some offensive burst rotations, how to manage your buffs, things like that, some tips, that sort of thing. So let's jump into the sets, guys. I'm running Bloodspawn, 7th Legion, Agility, a Maelstrom Greatsword, and Death's Win on the back bar. Now there's always going to be alternatives to builds. You don't always have to run exactly what the person tells you to run. For instance, there's always going to be an alternative Bloodspawn. There's going to be an alternative 7th Agility, etc. I think this is the best setup in my opinion. It works really well. Bloodspawn is a tanky and daunted set, so if you're going to replace this, things like Troll King, Pirate Skeleton, Malabeth would work. That's how you basically find alternatives. Find what that set is doing and find other sets like that set. So this is our tanky set. It's a little bit more utility as well since it does give us ultimate, but one of the main reasons we're running Bloodspawn is the tank ability. So finding undaunted sets that give tank ability would be good alternatives. 7th Legion, I think there's two great alternatives. There's a set called Fury, and there's a set called Hunding's Rage. Hunding's Rage is going to be the easiest to get out of all three of these sets because it is crafted. Fury is going to be the most weapon damage out of all three of these sets. And 7th Legion is going to be a mix of both. So I like 7th Legion because it gives me a line of weapon critical, which is very important. Weapon critical values are really important in this game. And it gives me weapon damage right off the bat. I just straight up get the 500 weapon damage when I get hit. And it procs really, really easily in open world. Fury is the most weapon damage out of all three of these sets. As you can see, we get a line of weapon damage from the 4th piece. And we get a load of weapon damage from the 5 piece. The 5 piece is going to give us 750 weapon damage total while fully built up. So this set in total is giving us 879 weapon damage. So that's why it's the most weapon damage. If you're going to go Fury, guys, which I definitely recommend, it's a great set. It's going to proc really, really fast if you're outnumbered. Really, really quick. I definitely advise you to go the Thief Stone, which is going to give you weapon critical. Unlike 7th Legion, unlike Fury, 7th Legion and Hunding's gives weapon critical values. Fury doesn't, so that's why I think you should go Thief, guys, because your weapon crit's going to be really, really low if you're running Fury. So go Thief if you're running Fury. If you're running Hunding's or 7th Legion, go Warrior. We're running 7 heavy, 1 medium, and the reason I'm doing this is because while we want to be as tanky as possible, running 7 heavy is not worth it because we're missing a 2% from undaunted passives. We're losing some reduction in stam costing abilities, and we're put at this really ugly weapon critical value. We're sitting at this 25.8, and this 0.8 is diminished. Do not count it. It rounds down all the time. So as you can see, if we put on a piece of medium armor, we're put at this 0.2 and we gain 2% weapon critical, which in my opinion is best. Just all stam glyphs and all impenetrable for the traits. Running 2 weapon damage glyphs, 1 reduced cost. We're running a sharpened Maelstrom Greatsword. I think a Nernhone Maelstrom Greatsword, this patch is the best. There's 3 traits. You can run Sharpen, Nernhone, or Precise. I think Nernhone's the best, I think Sharpen's the second best, and I think Precise is the third best. If you're running Precise though, don't go Thief if you're running the Fury build, because, yeah. And we're running Sturdy on the shield and an infused weapon damage glyph on the back bar. Why do I run infused? Because basically this glyph has no cooldown. You can light attack, get weapon damage. When it ends, you can light attack again. There's no cooldown. I love doing it. It's free 452 weapon damage when you light attack. It's amazing. Why are we running 2-piece Death's Win on the back? Because look at it. 3k physical resistance. That's OP. You can either get stam recovery, max health, max stam. This is definitely the best. It's our tank bar. We want to be tanky. Run Death's Win. Next patch, we're not running Maelstrom. So I'm going to let you guys know the Asylum 2-hand is definitely what you're going to want to go. And just apply the same traits like Nirnhone, Sharpen, Precise, or what do you want to go for? Definitely Great Sword, Axe, or Maul. They both work. Axe is definitely going to be best for single target, but we do a little bit of both on this build. We like doing some AoE burst damage. We like doing some high burst damage. We like doing some single target. So I'm running Great Sword right now. Maul works as well. If you are going to go a Maul, guys, do not run Sharpen, run Precise or Nirnhone. And if you're running Axe, Precise, Nirnhone, or Sharpen will work. But they're all great weapons, so keep that in mind. If you're going to replace Agility, go with Endurance. And if you're going to replace Death's Wind, try to get either Physical or Spell Resistance. Like, that's the best right now. Alright, guys. We're going to be going over some of the stats. We are Red Guard. I find that to be the best race. We're running the Warrior Stone, but keep in mind, if you're going to run a set without weapon critical values, go Thief. Your weapon critical doesn't want to be too low. Right now I'm at 37%. If you're going to go Fury with Warrior, you're going to be at 33, which is a little bit too low in my opinion. If you're going to be running Hunting's Rage, you're going to be at 41%. So that's like one big reason I like Hunting's Rage. Like, if you're going to go Hunting's Rage, your weapon critical is just at a really great point. But you get a little bit less damage in 7th. And we're running Dubious Cameron Throne for the max health, stamina, and stamina recovery. For the skills, when we go over the skills, I'm also going to be going over some of the offensive and defensive rotations, guys, so you guys get a better idea of how this is played in open world PvP. We're running Dizzy Swing. This is our CC. This is going to stun your enemy upon hit, and it's going to do a lot of damage. It's a hard-hitting CC, so it's a really valuable skill. The only downside of this is it really is hard to pull off when you're lagging and you have latency, or a Nightblade or a block build, because block builds aren't going to get stunned, and they're going to take very little damage, and Nightblades have abilities like Cloak and pretty good mobility, so it may be hard for you to hit them since we do not run any snares on this build. So practice on target skeletons and duels with your Dizzy Swings if that is an issue. But Dizzy Swing, hard hitting CC. Reverse Slice is our execute. This also does splash damage, which is really good since we do have AoE skills like Subterranean and Dawnbreaker. So when you line these skills up together, it really helps with getting the other opponents killed or lower. For momentum, we're not running Shuffle on this build in preparation for next patch, since Shuffle will only be able to be worn by people running 5 pieces of medium armor. And I do not find heavy armor builds to be viable without some way of removing snares and immobilizations. That's what Shuffle did. That's what Shuffle does now. It won't be doing that next patch because, yeah, you're in 5 heavy. If you're in medium, go ahead. You can run Shuffle. But if you're in heavy, you're going to need some way to remove these snares and immobilizations, or you're just going to get screwed. You're going to get slowed, or you're going to get locked down, and you're going to end up wasting way too many resources, roll dodging, or trying to survive with your heals. So for momentum is what we're doing. This is going to give us a small hot. It's going to give us health every 2 seconds. And the great part and the main reason we're using this ability is activating this ability removes all snares and immobilizations from you and grants immunity to them for 8 seconds. So basically, you're going to want to use this skill whenever you're snared or being rooted, immobilized, things like that. So you're getting taloned, use the skill. You're getting super snared, you're super slow, use the skill. That's when you're going to want to use it. You can also preemptively use it. You can use it before a snare or mobilization applies to allow better combo lineup and better line of sight right off the bat. Like, if you know you're going to get snared or you have an, like, just do it anyways. Sometimes you can just do it before you go in to prevent the snares and immobilizations from 8 seconds. So that's some things you want to think about when you're going to use the skill. But keep it up. It lasts for 33 seconds, so the hot lasts for 33 seconds and the major brutality, but the snare is only for 8. Subterranean. This is our offensive DPS skill. It's an AoE. It goes through block, and it applies major fracture. And it's a hard-hitting skill in general. It has a timer, so you can time this ability with any one of your abilities. You can time it with Reverse Slice. You can time it with Dizzy Swing. You can time it with Dawnbreaker. The main skills you're going to be timing this with is your ultimate and Dizzy Swing for the most part. So basically, if you're going to ultimate, if you're going to do a combo like Subterranean into Dawnbreaker, make sure you hit the Subterranean just like barely seconds before you line the Dawnbreaker up. The main reason I say this is because major fracture is applied to the opponent, so you're going to be reducing their physical resistance by 50 to 80. So your Dawnbreaker will hit harder if the Subterranean goes off first. If you've already hit a Subterranean on them, don't worry about that. but try to make sure these skills go off at the same time. So when you sub, you can do a heavy attack into a Dawnbreaker. That's one combo. You can also do a subterranean, and then you can go into dizzy swings. Just make sure you have this skill up every 3 seconds. It's really good. It's really good burst. And last but not least, we have Resolving Vigor. This is our hot. Since we're stamina, this lasts for 5 seconds. You want to make sure this is up all the time. Make sure it's up every 5 seconds or before you go into a fight. It's really good to have it up at all times. It really helps survivability. And Dawnbreaker, this is a hard-hitting CC, and it's our ultimate. And it's AoE as well. So, like I said, the combos, Subterranean into a Dawnbreaker, Subterranean into a Dizzy Swing, or Subterranean into a Dizzy Swing Dawnbreaker. And then if they fall into execute range, of course, go into your reverse slices. Another thing to keep in mind when you're going offense is just swiping a light attack on your back bar. This is going to give us 452 weapon damage. There's no cooldown on this since we're running infused, so whenever you want to go offensive, just make sure to light attack real quick. It'll really amp up your damage. On the back bar, we're running Ice Fortress. This is our physical and spell resistance buff. It gives us 5280 physical and spell resistance and minor protection. It's a great skill. Bull Netch, this is basically Stam Sustain. It gives us 4,029 stamina over 25 seconds. So this is going to give us 322 stam recovery. The reason we're running this is because, of course, Stam Sustain, and also to keep this passive on both bars, Flourish. 12% magic and stam recovery on both bars. We're running sub on the front, Bull Netch on the back, so we get 12% on both bars. Green Lotus. Since we're in heavy, weapon critical values are pretty low, and we're managing Warrior, which is awesome since we do have this skill called Green Lotus. This heals us on light and heavy attacks. It's a 20-second buff, and it gives major savagery. It applies to both bars since it is a buff, so our weapon critical values shoot up 10% higher since we do have this skill. And also makes your weapons look really, really sick. We look like a goddamn Jedi right now. So it's cool. This skill does not only give us major savagery and heals on light attacks, but it acts as a siphoning skill on the Nightblade, if you guys know what I'm talking about. Every time we light attack, this passive is going to proc when we have Green Lotus activated. When healing an ally with Green Bounce, gain Magicka or Stamina. The cooldown is 1 second. So basically, you have this skill. Every time you light attack, you'll be getting 250 stamina back. It's great. It's amazing. So make sure you light attack weave. Because light attack weaves not only improve your DPS, but give you stamina sustain. Also, the heals are actually pretty nice when you're doing heavy attacks. It's very little heal, but when you got hots running like Vigor, Forward Momentum, it really does add up. Shimmering Shield. This is going to absorb damage from the projectiles, give you Magicka back from each projectile absorbed. You can only absorb 3 projectiles, and the great part about this skill is the Major Heroism, which is more ulti gen, which is important in PvP, because more ultimates can mean 2 things: more kills or more defensive ults, leading to more survivability or more kills, basically. So keep this up basically all the time. There's gonna be very little times in PvP when there's no projectiles being, like when you encounter no projectiles. Keep this up whenever you notice projectiles coming in, which should be all the time. So you really don't got to think about it, guys. Just, it's kind of like Vigor, man. Keep it up. You'll be able to sustain it. You also take less damage since you'll be absorbing the projectiles. So this is not only a skill that makes us tanky towards projectile opponents, but give us incredible ulti gen. And then Soothing Spores is our instant heal. This is basically the only class, really, in my opinion, that's going to be able to run forward momentum because we have a skill like Soothing Spores. Stamina builds usually run Resolving Vigor and Rally. Rally is the other morph for forward momentum, which basically gives us a burst heal when we press it again. The lower duration leads to a bigger heal. We have a skill like Soothing Spore. We do have a stamina class burst heal, so it's easy for us to run forward momentum. But this is basically the skill you want to press, like the oh shit moment when your hots are not doing enough and you need to press an instant heal. I usually use this skill when I'm at a certain point of health, since we will proc major mending from this passive. So when you're under 40%, it's probably a good idea to use it since you're definitely low in health and you need it, and we'll proc major mending. So the first time you use it, you'll get major mending, and the second time you use it, the major mending will be applied to the second Soothing Spore, and of course all your hots will be affected after you use it the first time. If you happen to hit a light attack before you Soothing Spore, you'll get the major mending beforehand, because this also does proc major mending. So if you do that, good for you. And then Healing Thicket is our defensive ultimate. Super cheap, super great, provides a lot of healing. Basically, you drop it, you can do heavy attacks. It makes you really tanky. You stand in it. It also helps your allies since it does give it healing to you and your allies. It's an insta heal. It's a hot, and when the effect ends after 6 seconds, guys, you get that juicy hot at the end. So 22,000 over 4 seconds is a big hot. So if you can stay in it for the 6 seconds and then leave, you're basically doing a good job. But sometimes you can't, since it's open world PvP. You can't always stand in your Healing Thicket. So going Sword and Board ult is definitely a good idea, especially with this build. You Sword and Board ult, you get out of all the snares before momentum, and you start going to your line of sight. The only downside of Healing Thicket, so consider Sword and Board ult, guys. One thing about Sword and Board ult is you can't use Shimmering Shield when you have this up, since the projectiles will be reflected. So there's 2 things you can do. You can either use Shimmering Shield, absorb a projectile, and then put your Sword and Board ult, since Major Heroism lasts for 6 seconds, and this lasts for 7. So you'll have a downtime of 1 second. Or you can go the other morph, which in my opinion is definitely not worth it, since reflecting projectiles creates an offensive opportunity, in my opinion. And definitely backs off people who are shooting with projectiles, because they're going to be getting hit. Those are for the skills, though. If you guys have any questions, let me know if I missed something, or if you have a question. I try to respond to all my comments. And if you want to see this build in action, I'm working on making another montage, of course, but I stream on Twitch, guys. You guys may or may not know. I upload a video every time on YouTube when I'm streaming. But definitely go out there, drop me a follow. If you feel like you want to support me, definitely drop a sub. It really motivates me to stream. But anyways, those are our skills. Make sure to grab the passes, guys. You guys know this by now. Grab your racials, grab medicinal use, grab everything that's useful. And the pots we're running, I wanna address this. We're running speed pots. We're running these pots right here. Movable, Major Expedition, Stam. The thing about this potion you want to realize is if you're running buff trackers, as you can see, this pink buff right here is my speed. I mentioned this before, but you get speed for 47 seconds, and the pot cooldown is 45. So you'll have 2.6 seconds of speed still after the pot ends. The bad thing about this is if you use the potion before this Major Expedition buff drops, you basically only get 11 seconds of Major Expedition. It's a bug. Some things you can do, honestly. It's kind of annoying since you have to make sure this drops before you can use another potion, or you're going to be screwed with Major Expedition. Use 2 out of 3 for medicinal use. I honestly think that's better. It's really annoying. Look. I use it, and now I only get that much speed, even though I'm supposed to get 47 seconds. So you'll basically be ruining one part of the potion if you do that. You have to wait till it drops. It's really annoying, guys. So if you're good at paying attention to your buffs, you can do 3 out of 3. But honestly, 2 out of 3 is better, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm probably going to do that actually after the video, but that's something you want to keep in mind. It may have been happening to you, so there's a fix. Defensive buffs, guys, there's a lot. You got Bull Netch, you got this, you got this, you got this. You got a lot of buffs, guys. I know, it's hard to manage. Buff trackers will help. I have this pretty neatly organized above my health bar for the console and PS4 players. I'm sorry, but you got a lot of things up there, probably a lot more than me, since I blacklisted most of mine. But if you guys are on PC or EU, you can definitely blacklist if you're using my add-ons, or use a different add-on. If you need help with that, I'll help you in the comments below organizing that. I do have a video that explains it, so definitely just look at my YouTube videos. It's called like my add-on setup. But yeah, there's a lot of things to manage. We got 3 Magicka skills. They're pretty easily manageable since we are in heavy, and we do get Magicka back every 4 seconds from the Constitution passive. But we got 2 Magicka buffs that are really long lasting. We got 24 seconds and 20 seconds. So you only got to worry about putting these up every 20 seconds or so. Shimmering Shield, like I said, it's kind of like Vigor. There's always projectiles. Try to keep this up as much as you can. Like before you go into fights, just put it up real quick. It doesn't last very long since it's only 3 projectiles, but it's just really helpful. Bull Netch lasts 27 seconds, so you got long buffs. Just make sure you have everything because, like I said, this is going to give you sustain. This is going to give you critical values, and it's going to give you stamina from that one passive. So just practice. Just basically practice on in duels or target scouts and keeping up all your buffs while also being able to go offensive. Try not to drop your buffs that much, since they all are going to help you in PvP. But offensive burst, you can go back in the video. I talked about some of them. Subterranean into heavy attack Dawnbreaker, subterranean into dizzy swings, and subterranean into dizzy swing Dawnbreaker. And then of course execute when they're below 50%. Like I said, light attack gives you extra weapon damage, so make sure to just do that before you go into your combo. Subterranean, light attack, and then you can go into your combo. Okay, CP is the last thing about this build. We got 60. I did a lot of tweaking to the CP, and I want to shout out my man Synthesis. I don't know if you guys know him, but he's a friend of Scribes. He's crazy. He has a lot of secrets. He's usually in my Twitch streams, so if you guys want to reach out to him, he knows a lot about ESO. But he helped me complete my CP, so shout out to Zin. You're the man, bro. We got 61 into Warlord, 43 into Mooncalf, 43 into Tenacity, 7 into Tumbling, 66 Shadow Ward. Remember, we do not dodge a lot with this build. If you ever get rooted or snared, do not dodge. You have a skill for momentum that will get you out of those roots and immobilizations. We don't dodge a lot, but diminishing returns are a thing. So like putting 7 points into this is not bad. It does give. We basically have 5% in reduction since we're running one piece of medium armor. 43 into Blessed. I'm putting this many points into Blessed because, believe it or not, not running Shuffle does eliminate a lot of tankiness. We do not have dodge chance anymore, and that's a lot when you're outnumbered. So, and diminishing returns is a thing. So putting points into Blessed is not a bad idea. We barely get any more damage if we don't have this. Like, you drop 43, you're gonna spread your points out through these four CP skills. It's not a lot of damage, guys. Put points into Blessed. It really helps in 1vx, since you basically will be able to get more heals, basically leading to easier offensive windows, in my opinion. 56 into Mastered Arms, 56 Precise Strikes, 33 Piercing, 32 Mighty. 56 Ironclad, 44 Resistant, 32 into Hardy and Elemental Defender, and 56 into Thick Skin. And that is it for the CP. You do not have to run the same CP. Tweak it to your liking, guys, but we worked really hard on that. So shout out to Zin. Thank you. Appreciate that. Another thing I want to go over is heavy attacks. Heavy attacks are really important for stamina sustain on this build. We have pretty good sustain, guys. It says we have like 1500 now, but remember, you got to keep in mind that these two skills are giving us sustain. But heavy attack should be performed all the time in PvP in the heavy build. It will give us damage buffs for 2-hand, since it will increase the next attack by 10%. So it can help you offensively, and it really helps you sustain wise. Make sure to hit a heavy attack every like 10 seconds, guys. It should be in your rotation, just doing it. You get some line of sight, you come around, you heavy attack. Do not wait till you're too low of stam to heavy attack. You're just going to be put in a detrimental situation. It's not good. So make sure heavy attacks is another part of your rotation. But anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up for the video. If you guys need help, put any questions or concerns in the comments below. Check me out on stream. You can ask me there too. And you can see the gameplay in live PvP. So thank you guys so much for watching. It's Kodi. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.